just about fried.
I don't remember seeing anything quite like this.
It's gonna be a war!
Bench is clearing, shades of the Flames and the Oilers.
The Battle of Alberta.
Well, you expect hostilities.
There's nothing like it.
No love lost between these two.
Look out now!
Wow.
Get ready. It's Friday Night Football.
Quite frankly, that's amazing.
Well, anytime's great for football, but I know when it feels just right. We're gonna kick back, relax, watching football on a Friday night. It's Friday, and we're gonna be hard to get right. It's Friday, from coast to coast, the CFL is Canada's game. Well, we're all pumped up to party, and we're ready for a fight. Come on, get back, relax, watching Friday Night Football, boys and females. Well, the CFL football game is up for grabs. It's Friday Night Football tonight.
Two bitter rivals that knocked helmets just a few days ago. They re-hit. They re-knocked tonight on Wendy's Friday Night Football. I had nothing there. Can we start this again? No, that's it. Dave
What
Randorf.
were you going for?
I don't know. I'm all excited. It's Calgary, Edmonton, Jock Colombia, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. Okay, it is the Stampeders and the Eskimos. Stampeders had a terrible first half on Labor Day Monday, came back stronger in the second, and almost came all the way back, but it was the Eskimos who got their second straight win, while the Stamps suffer their second straight loss. And Schultz, don't look now, but they've been caught from behind in the West by Saskatchewan for that third and final playoff spot in that division.
Right you are, David. I mean, I look at the Calgary Stampeders, may have lost that football game, but I thought they showed a great second half determination, because going into halftime, they had a worst case scenario happen to them as a football team, a blocked punt for points. Now, all of a sudden, the atmosphere is really down at halftime, because you're not talking about adjustments. You're talking about a mistake that determined points. It could have determined the game. Then coming out of halftime, look at this, a safety. So all of a sudden, it's 25-1, but the concentration was collective. They worked on one play at a moment, one drive at a moment, and I think we're going to have a great game because of that second half, Jock.
Well, Schultz, they did come back, but they failed to execute when the moment of truth came along last week, when it came time for the two-point play at the end of the game. And, it's a question of maturity. I think that this coaching staff and the players have got to learn that when the bullets start flying, that's when you calm down and just do it routinely. They took a time count violation and made a 5-yard play into a 10-yard play and took a sack because Burris has fewer options in that situation. And, here's a time now where leaders have to step up in the locker room, Matt. When you're making mistakes like that, somebody's got to make sure that everybody else is calm, you get the right formation, you get the right personnel in the football game, and that didn't happen last week.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in the locker room. It happens in practice in the week before, in
That's
preparation. Right. And, it's a couple times that's happened in Calgary. But this is a football team that nobody wants to play. All around the league, because they're so explosive. We saw that in the second half. But in the first half, the Edmonton Eskimo defense set the tone and completely shut down the Calgary Stampeder run game. Joffrey Reynolds had 8 carries for 1 yard. 1 yard, and it was a collective effort by the entire defensive crew. And they simply got after it. And they wanted to use Joffrey in a different sense and try to get him out in the backfield and up the field. It was Kelly Wiltshire staying low. And Dave, if they're going to have a chance tonight, the Calgary Stampeders have got to get that rushing game going, especially with the conditions the way they are in Commonwealth tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Tough to do against the #1 rush defense in the league, however. By the way, Edmonton rushers take note. There's a new guy in town named Deron Dietrich. He, the Toronto native, signed with the Eskimos today. That is something that we are going to talk about. Our Boston Pizza CFL poll question is, which Canadian do you think is going to make a big impact in the near future? Those are your choices. We'll talk more about that at the half. Here are your starting quarterbacks, brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. Henry Burris, Ricky Ray, same two guys that went at it about 4 days ago. Set to go tonight on Friday night.
Thank you, Dave. Tonight's game available in TSN HD. High definition for picture clarity. Visit tsn.ca/HD and call your digital cable or satellite provider. The Labor Day clash went down to the wire at McMahon. Tonight, it's the traditional rematch as the 4-6 Calgary Stampeders invade Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton to face the 7-3 Eskimos. It is a wet night. The rain began a few hours ago, expected to continue throughout the evening, so footing could be an issue on the natural turf of Commonwealth. There's Tom Higgins, who spent 11 years with the Eskimos, tonight returning, feeling a sense of urgency to improve the Stamp sub 500 record. Danny Machocha's Eskimos have won 2 straight, but he wants them to be more decisive in closing out games after that harrowing second half on Monday. It's usually the green and gold, but tonight it's the gold and green.
What are your thoughts out of the gate?
I like it, but then again, I come from a school known for their golden gales.
Yeah, I don't mind them either. The third uniforms. Tony Tompkins back to return this kick. Special teams could be a factor tonight, and the running game because of the weather conditions. It's this time of year when the weather starts to turn.
There is TNT back. Sandro DeAngelis has it on the tee. And let's get things started. And DeAngelis shows you that the footing will be an issue tonight. He hit the deck, and Tompkins breaks the first tackle and then drops the football. And a wild pile-up on the initial play of the game. And both sides signaling they've got it.
But no signal from the officials as of yet as they try and dig that football out of there.
Turnovers decisive on Monday. 3 going against Calgary. Eskimos didn't turn the ball over, have they, on the first play tonight?
I think John Grace is at the bottom of that pile. He's still fighting for the football.
Eskimos have retained possession.
Take one more look at the Tony Tompkins return. Right at the end of it, as he tries to cut back, is when that ball comes out. George White leads the way on special teams, and he gets the first contact right there. Ball clearly a fumble. And the Eskimos win the fight at the bottom of that.
Steve Charbonneau had the first shot at it. He couldn't reel it in, but somebody came up with it wearing those new sweaters. And so Ricky Ray goes to work on offense from the Edmonton 37-yard line. Trevor Gaylor with the first catch of the game. He's forced out at the 44. Gaylor with 3 catches, 66 yards last week, including the Eskimos' biggest play of 35.
Ricky Ray in the backfield tonight. Will have Ron McClendon back in the lineup. Last week in the Labor Day game, it was Michael Jenkins who was injured. McClendon gets back in there. Jason Tucker, the leading receiver, along with Daryl Mitchell in that receiving corps. And there's your offensive line. Lesrud at center.
2nd and 4. Ray under pressure from Grace. It's dumped off. Here's McClendon in the game and into the open field. And he hops across the 50 and down to the Calgary 45.
McClendon is the checkoff receiver for Ricky Ray on the play. Ricky Ray's going to extend the down by using his feet and getting outside the pocket. Pocket will start to collapse on him a little bit. And as he pulls back out of here, you're going to see how he has to try and move to the left of this pocket to try and get some more time, extend the down. Ron McClendon has the cut block on Scott Coe and then turns around and becomes receiver and checkoff man.
21 for McClendon, back in for Michael Jenkins, who injured a foot on Monday. McClendon making his 6th start. That play stopped by the officials, so we get a chance to set the Calgary defense.
Raheem Abdullah, the leader, the former Edmonton Eskimo in the sack department for the Calgary defensive line, with 6 so far on the season. Maybe the best linebacking core in Canadian football, though there are some great ones across the league. John Grace, a big game in the Labor Day game versus the Edmonton Eskimos, and a very young secondary that's been thrown together. Nate Terry, the only person in that secondary with CFL experience coming into this year.
Chris Morris called on the procedure penalty, 1st and 15. Daryl Mitchell, who had 11 catches on Monday, gets back to the original line of scrimmage and an extra yard.
3 sacks for Mr. John Grace. the Labor Day Classic in Calgary. And a big reason the Calgary Stampeders stormed back and were a 2-point convert from tying that game in the dying minutes and dying seconds.
Defensive Player of the Week. Amazing Grace. Mitchell gets 6, so it's 2nd and 9 for the Eskimos. And Ray will dump it off again. McClendon with a one-hand catch. And he is cut down. Good pursuit there. George White with 11 tackles last week. He's forced a fumble and made a nice defensive play already this evening.
You know, George White, one of the great linebackers in this league because of his versatility. He shows you his quickness to run down Ron McClendon here. Ron McClendon gets this corner. He may get the first down, and it's a race to get outside and outflank the defender in George White. There's the race. And White, with his great quickness, runs him down. White will be asked to cover receivers as well tonight.
Hayden Epstein into punt for the second straight game instead of Sean Fleming. Angles the kick, and it will not be returned by Terrence Wilkins. Terrific kick by Epstein, 38 yards into the corner. Epstein punt pins the Stampeders at their 5-yard line for their opening possession of the evening. And they've got to fight the noise that Edmonton had to deal with on Monday. Here's Copeland to throw out of the end zone, but Nick Lewis, the intended receiver, fell on the play.
And so did Kelly Wilshire, who may have had an interception there. Here's your Calgary starting offense. Henry Burris starts at quarterback. Behind him, Joffrey Reynolds, who had his worst game as a pro last week in the Labor Day Classic, 8 carries for 1 yard. There is your receiving corps. Jermaine Copeland, the offseason acquisition, leading the way. Jamie Crysdale back in the lineup.
The starting lineup brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. 2nd and 10. And Burris rolling in the end zone. Montford with the late hit. The ball up for grabs, and this one is picked off. Stephen Marsh with the interception. Just the second in 5 games for the Eskimo defense.
Well, for Calgary, it basically works as a punt anyway in this case, because Henry Burris, who rolls out on this play, is throwing from deep in his end zone. And had the Calgary Stampeders had to line up and punt the football on 3rd down here, they may have had to give up the safety. There's the hit from Joe Mumford on Henry Burris as he's thrown. Double coverage down the field on Jermaine Copeland. Marsh underneath, Kelly Wilshire over top. No way, Copeland's getting that one.
Coverage couldn't be more airtight. And Burris has thrown his first interception in 4 games. Ron McClendon to the 45 has 3. McClendon coming off a good performance a couple of weeks ago against Montreal when he rushed for 69 yards, caught 6 passes for 50. But Michael Jenkins was watching on the sidelines, and he got a shot on Monday in Calgary.
And on Monday had 8 carries for 30 yards. It wasn't a banner game from Michael Jenkins, although they're still very high on Michael Jenkins when he's healthy to push Ron McClendon and maybe take that position.
McClendon told not to look over your shoulder tonight. 2nd and 7. Ray steps up under pressure, and Ray will be brought down, wants the ball, and who's got it? Looks like the Stampeders are on the football, but again, they're going to still battle under the pileup.
Ricky Ray was trying to direct traffic as he had to scramble out of there. He needed a block and didn't get it.
So the second time early, the Eskimos have put it down. And will they have recovered again? Eskimos do retain possession, but they'll have to punt it away.
Let's take another look. I'll show you how Ricky Ray was trying to direct traffic and try and get a block downfield. As he comes out here, now he's in trouble. Now he's pointing to Ron McClendon. Go ahead and block that guy in front of me. And that's the guy who makes the tackle right there. Again, George White hustling over from the linebacking core. Ron McClendon did not understand Ricky Ray's direction, missed the block, and that caused the fumble.
White's popped a couple of footballs loose. A shorter kick by Epstein. Wilkins trying to get outside, going the wrong way. And stopped inside the 5-yard line. Donnie Brady. Great coverage and a loss of 11. On the sidelines tonight, Ryan Rashog.
Thank you very much, Chris. You know, one area head coach Danny Machocha has been very frustrated in regards to his team is their inability to finish teams off when they have a sizable lead. On several occasions this year, the Eskimos have managed to build up an early lead, only to give it back. They're not necessarily games they lost, but Coach Machocha says as they get towards the back half of the season, they have to learn how to finish those teams off. With more on the Stampeders, we head over to the other sideline and bring in our Brian Mudrick.
Ryan, Tom Higgins returning to Commonwealth Stadium for the first time in Stampeder colors, and Tom could use some success in his old stomping grounds. The coach has come under some media scrutiny for some of his decision-making late in games, which has cost Calgary. And you know, losing back-to-back games to the Eskimos would not look favorably to Stampeder fans back home, guys.
Henry Burris kiddingly called it Commonwealth Stadium yesterday. As Higgins makes his return, Joffrey Reynolds trying to give Calgary better field position and a good run, which is in sharp contrast to his numbers in the last meeting.
Absolutely, but you have to think right now with Joffrey Reynolds, who still is second in the Canadian Football League rushing, that he will be more of a factor tonight for a couple reasons. One, very uncharacteristic to have 8 carries for 1 yard in very good conditions on artificial turf for Joffrey Reynolds. Now, the weather tonight is advantage running game and advantage Calgary in that category.
Reynolds had 8 on that carry. 2nd and 2. And Burris throwing. Receiver fell. And Davis Sanchez nearly took it the other way. The former Stampeder corner's eyes lit up. He thought he'd light up the scoreboard too.
Well, right through his hands. What a defense this has become for the Edmonton Eskimos. There's your defensive line. 6 sacks for Rashad Genty, 5 for Cedric Scott, 5 for Joe Mumford. Linebacking core and A.J. Gass, according to his head coach Danny Machocha, is the MVP of this team and that defense. And Kelly Wiltshire, what a hit on Labor Day on Joffrey Reynolds down the seam.
Kirk Dales from his end zone. And he will punt. As the Stampeders opt not to concede 2. Flag down. Tompkins twists, and he's brought down. Mike Juhas after the 35-yard punt. -1 for Tompkins. Eskimos enjoy great field position. The Calgary 41. Still scoreless first quarter. Ricky Ray under pressure, a ball that is caught by Kwame Cavill through the hands of a defender, and Cavill makes the catch.
I thought it was Brian Clark, the linebacker, that almost had a chance at this interception. A crossing pattern for Daryl Mitchell, who cuts across underneath. He's the over guy, and Kwame Cavill the under. I believe it went through Brian Clark's hands and into Cavill's.
Cavill with 3 catches on Monday, and this will require a measurement. And it looks like the Eskimos have already made an adjustment to their offensive line that had a lot of difficulty with the 3-4 defense of the Stampeders in the first matchup of the year. And veteran Sandy Annunziata has moved into the right guard spot that was occupied by Patrick Kabongo on Labor Day.
Well, it's the difference between a 2-year player who really is in his rookie season when you talk about playing time, and Patrick Kabongo, who had some problems. You move Sandy Annunziata in. He's seen it all before in his 10th season in Canadian football. So it gives him a little bit more veteran experience against that 34 defense that likes to stunt. They'll come from different areas from the linebacking core and the secondary, and you need experienced guys up front.
Doesn't hurt he's Italian. Danny Machocha mentioned to him when he acquired him, you can't have too many Italians on your team. And Annunziata, Kevin Lefsrud, and Joe McGrath push forward to get Ray the necessary first down.
And for the offensive line for the Edmonton Eskimos, a big game in a lot of ways. One, they've been under some scrutiny over the last couple of weeks, and especially after the Labor Day game, for too many hits on Ricky Ray. And a lot of newspaper articles this week, a little bit of criticism pointed towards the offensive line, a veteran group who you know will want to respond and have a big game tonight.
This is a team that had just 56 yards of passing in the second half last week. Play action. And with a flag down, Dayton DeBook was the intended receiver. Incomplete. Looks like holding will be the call against that Eskimo offensive line. And the Stampeders will have to make a decision. Do you push 10 yards back in this position?
Number 65, decline. Second out.
They will decline the penalty because of the incompletion. Kevin Lefsrud, the culprit.
You know, the criticism towards the offensive line, and yet when you look at Ricky Ray's projections over the rest of this season, he should have Edmonton Eskimo records in all those categories. So maybe touchdowns where he'll tie, but certainly in yardage.
2nd and 10, and look at McClendon. Down inside the 20 and a first down. This much criticized Eskimo offense because of their lack of a running game.
Well, and that's not necessarily their fault, simply because the calls coming from the bench just don't have enough runs. And Danny Machocha told us a couple of weeks ago that he really wants to try and call more runs so he can give that offensive line a chance to fire out and go make somebody, go hit somebody. It's pretty tough for any offensive line, no matter how good you are, to pass block every play.
Just 41 yards rushing Monday. Ray had it knocked out of his hand, and they're ruling it incomplete. Stampeders arguing the case. Brian Clark knocked it out of the hand of Ray. Did his arm motion forward?
Well, his arm was definitely up in the air. That's how Brian Clark got a chance to get his hands on it. But I'm not sure if it moved forward. You're going to get a nice look at it here. The arm is back. Well, it does look like it's moving a little bit forward when you look at the replay. That was full speed. Now let's slow it down for you.
I think enough of a movement maybe to deceive Ken Lazaruk, because that ball was swatted out of his hand.
Well, and it was right at the back, but you know the follow through for Ricky Ray. Sold.
2nd and 10. And out of the backfield. A catch is made, but it will be short of the first down. Darryl Mitchell with the catch.
You know, when you look at the momentum of this game, right now the Edmonton Eskimos have had the big advantage in field position, but have really not capitalized on it. I mean, they're going to line up here for a field goal. That's twice now Danny Machocha's offenses have started drives at midfield or in Calgary's end of the field, and now they may just settle for 3 points out of both of them. So it could come back to hurt them down the line if this game stays close.
Epstein was 3 for 3. He's been perfect so far in his 2 starts, and this from 21 on the wet turf. And he puts it through. Eskimos strike first, but it's just 3. 5:32 left, first quarter. Eskimos have won 11 of 15 Labor Day rematches here at Commonwealth Stadium, including the last 3 that have been blowouts. 45-11, 38-0, 44-12. So the last 3 games, 127-23, the combined score. Short kickoff taken by Kalist, one of the up men. And he's across the 45. Good field position for Henry Burris against a very stingy Eskimo defense.
Well, stingy and very stingy against the run. Rick Campbell is basically the defensive coordinator, although they don't put that official title on in the yearbook. But when you look at some of these numbers, points allowed per game, first in the league. You just look at that list, first or second in a bunch of categories. Against the run, this team has been dominant. In the last 3 games, Rick Campbell's defense has given up an average of 37 yards rushing per game. Outstanding.
And only 13 points against in first quarters all season. Burris going up top. Has a man, and again the footing an issue as Marte Jenkins check that. Kenyon Rambo got in behind and then had footing problems.
And you know when Kenyon Rambo has the footing problems is not in the route, because the route is pretty simple. If I can be fast enough to run by you as a defensive back in Shannon Garrett. The problem on the footing is in the adjustment. He has to come back. The ball's thrown over the opposite shoulder. When he tries to make the adjustment, that's when he slips.
Henry Burris said yesterday that he felt the Eskimo defense was vulnerable deep, and they'd be taking deep shots in this game. 2nd and 10. Eskimos show blitz. Here they come. Burris over the middle. Big Corey Dickerson with his first CFL catch. Down to the Edmonton 40. 6'4", 250. Dickerson out of the University of Southern California.
Well, really, now you get a tight end, and we're going back. It goes in cycles. This is basically a tight end and makes the right read in Corey Dickerson to go down the middle and blitz right over where the linebackers have vacated.
You're 6'4", you're 250, and apparently has the ability to high jump 7 feet. So he's an athletic specimen. 25 yards. And the Stamps are now threatening. Here's Reynolds trying to get outside, cut down on the play. Malcolm Frank, the veteran, back on the corner after missing the last game. Upends Reynolds for a loss of 1.
You know, and one of the reasons the Edmonton Eskimos are so good against the run is because of their secondary. Not just because they make tackles occasionally like Malcolm Frank makes here, but because they are such a veteran group, it allows the linebackers to concentrate on the run game and stay longer in the box. If you have a veteran secondary that can hold their own in pass coverage, your linebackers can focus on running backs.
There's Donnie Brady, who heard it from the Stamp receiving corps this week. Accusations of constant holding. Burris in the air. Back to the ball. Rambo with Davis Sanchez on top, but Kenyon Rambo has the catch.
Boy, does Rambo do a nice job here of coming back to the football. And he's forced to because Henry Burris throws off his heels and has to bring him back, but he was coming back anyway and separating himself from the coverage downfield. Rambo has the post pattern. Now what? Davis Sanchez is in perfect position on the up shoulder, but as that ball is thrown under, Rambo comes back to it and makes a very difficult catch look easy.
2 straight 25-yard receptions. Rambo had a tough game last week. A fumble and a drop ball in the end zone. First down Stamps, back to Reynolds. And nothing doing. That door was slammed in his face. Singor Mobley filled the hole, and Joe Montfort was there too.
1 yard on Labor Day, and you know he wants to get going, and he may have to wait a week because this is strength against strength. Calgary offense, one of their strengths have been Joffrey Reynolds in the running game. And that's against the strength of the Edmonton defense.
Just lost 3, 2nd and 13. Back to Reynolds, the draw play, and he was caught from behind, and again Mobley making 2 fine defensive plays in a row.
Here's what I'm talking about with the linebackers being able to focus on the box. I'm going to show you Singor Mobley right here and A.J. Gass with their attention right in the backfield on Joffrey Reynolds. They don't have to widen out and help on receivers. They can stay in that box. Look at how they settle their feet, move forward when the run is established, and make that tackle, gang tackle with everyone. That's why they're good against the run.
Mobley leads the Eskimos in tackles for 42. Here's DeAngelis, one of his last 4. Trying from 23. And DeAngelis is money. And this game is tied. Wendy's Friday Night Football. Gold and green tonight. The Eskimos suddenly becoming fashion conscious. The last game, it was all green for the first time. There's Trevor Gaylor spinning away from Shane Walton across the 40 to the 41 and 6 yards. Speaking of Labor Day rematches, we've got one for you tomorrow. Wendy CFL Live features the rematch between Hamilton and Toronto. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on TSN. And that was a whale of a football game on Monday at Ivor Wynn.
Was it ever? A true classic. And win number 2 in a row for the Ticats.
And a gentleman by the name of Lumsden in that lineup, we believe. It's a pass just out of the hands of Jason Tucker, incomplete.
Now, this is quite a battle between Kobe Reinhardt, playing on the corner in his 4th start in Canadian football against one of the best. And look at Reinhardt, little push there, no problem, no interference, little push, little pull, they're battling for it. Tucker gets the advantage at the end of it, but not in time to gather up that Ricky Ray throw.
So a 2 and out for Edmonton. And Epstein in the punt. Wilkins, the return man, averaged 9 yards per return in his CFL debut Monday. And across the 30-yard line to the 32. And 9 yards the return there for Terrence Wilkins.
Again, decent field position for Henry Burris. He finally got good field position on that last series and ended up with 3 points and tied this football game as Steve Barato, the offensive coordinator, gives him the play to start this drive. The first 2 drives of the game for the Calgary Stampeders were inside their own 5-yard line. See what they can do with this field position.
Burris with 300-yard games in 6 of his last 7 starts. He had 313 Monday in the loss. And a completion, Rambo, a first down up to the 45. 13 for Kenyon Rambo, and a late flag tacked on.
It looked like there was some talking going on, a little trash talking between Rambo and one of the Edmonton defenders. Which may lead to a taunting call.
That flag well after the play.
Hey, Eskimo fans, you can now cheer on the green and gold with their new look. The Eskimo third jersey was
And I believe the quarter's over, and the 2 teams will change ends. At least they were trying to change ends. Ken Lazarick may bring them back.
Failed to end it on a penalty that is accepted.
And it looks like, will there be one more play in the quarter or not?
Objection of conduct. Edmonton, number 92, 10-yard penalty. First down.
Jabari Issa called for objectionable conduct. It is the end of 1 quarter football in the Labor Day rematch.
An advantage, only came away with 3 when they started 2 drives in a row out of the gate inside Calgary territory. Calgary got their first chance at field position and matched the 3 points. This is their second.
Henry Burris getting checked out. It was a 9-yard run, and apparently he has injured his left thumb. Pat Clayton checking him out. It's his non-throwing thumb, but he's got to be able to take the snap, and Jason Gesser may be called in.
Well, and the fact that the training staff has had to come onto the field, albeit just by the sideline, a yard onto the field, didn't look like he got hit. He put his hand down there with that left hand. Could have hurt his thumb in that position, because when he gets hit, he kind of hook slides and really doesn't take a hit on the sideline. So must have been when he put his hand down. Now, because the training staff has come on the field, he will have to stay out at least 3 plays in what could be a key drive in this first half for the Calgary Stampeders based on their field position. So Jason Gesser coming fairly cold off the bench. He's going to have to try and continue to move the chains.
What a spot for him to come into, a product of Washington State. So the man that's the boss in Edmonton knows all about him as a former Washington State star. In fact, Hugh Campbell in the Cougar Hall of Fame. But right now it's Gesser in the spotlight.
See as he walks on the field trying to stay relaxed and smile and try and show the rest of his team in the huddle that he has confidence and not to worry about a thing. I can step in. They've sure talked highly about Jason Gesser since the beginning of training camp. And now we'll have to see if Henry Burris can come back. He'll have to stay out 3 plays. Now, it must have been right when he puts his hand down right there to keep his balance. He manages to do that because at the end of the run, he'll hook slide. Yeah, he's explaining right now. I put my hand down and hurt myself.
2nd and 1, and Gesser trying to sneak behind Jamie Crysdale. Taylor Robertson, the right guard, should have the first down. Burris continues to get attention, gets teamed up. Oh, Dave Dickinson's getting a complex. We keep comparing all these young guys to Dave Dickinson, guys like Buck Pierce, and Jason Gesser's had the same label since the preseason when he looked good.
And Chris, it's comparisons by style and maybe size alone, certainly not in accomplishments, because Dave Dickinson has accomplished a ton in the league. And congratulations again to the BC Lions for their big win against Ottawa, which has made it important for Edmonton if they want to keep pace and have a chance to catch the BC Lions in the West Division. This is an important game to win for them. Calgary trying to stay ahead of the Saskatchewan Roughriders or get ahead of them in the West Division and keep their hopes alive for a home field goal, a home playoff game.
The perfect BC Lions. Memo to Michael Federick. Wally Buono knew what he was doing.
He certainly did. It certainly does.
First down, the high shotgun snap pulled down and in the flat. The catch is made. And quickly Rambo brought down by Sanchez.
I've mentioned the secondary and how they contribute to the run stopping of the Edmonton Eskimo defense. This secondary is experienced. Kelly Wilshire is a safety. Wilshire has played in 154 games. You look at the total of this secondary, 614 games played in the regular season between Shannon Garrett, Kelly Wilshire, Brady Sanchez, and Malcolm Frank.
2nd and 5, a 6-pack for Gesser, and a completion as Marte Jenkins has a first down. And that's why Gesser got some rave reviews. Kid's cool. Under pressure, coming off the bench in a tough situation.
It's tough for a couple of reasons. One, it's an important drive in the game based on the field position that Calgary has and had when he stepped on the field, but also because he's cold. He's been standing there for a quarter on a rainy night here in Edmonton. And Burris, in the meantime, is trying to get that thumb right.
10 for Jenkins, again a 6-pack, and again a completion. And Rambo running over people, touchdown, Kenyon Rambo. yards, and Jason Gesser has his first career CFL touchdown pass.
Well, Jason Gesser has set the bar pretty high for himself, and his first touchdown throw is a pretty easy one. Execute the game plan, little hitch pass to Kenyon Rambo, and then he says, lets his athlete do the rest.
Rambo with the rumble of 30 yards and his first touchdown since the opening game of the season. DeAngelis the point after. And the visiting Stampeders open up a 10-3 lead. Kenyon Rambo had a tough Labor Day with the fumble and a drop ball in the end zone. Nothing wrong with his first half. 4 catches, 73 yards, and that 30-yard touchdown. Tony Tompkins flags down. Tompkins to the 40.
We'll sort out the illegal blocks as we go back to this replay of Kenyon Rambo's touchdown. And memo to all young quarterbacks entering the pro ranks. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes just executing the offense is good enough to get things going. And Jason Gesser does that in his first couple of plays in this game. couple of short throws, execute the offensive game plan, and let the athletes do the rest. And Mason Gesser has his first touchdown pass as a pro.
Dayton Dubuc called on the illegal block. And so now the Eskimos, trailing by a touchdown, start inside their 20. Handing off to McClendon. Has some running room. Ron McClendon up across the 35. A late flag on the play. And McClendon looks skyward because the 21-yard rump may be coming back.
Well, McClendon looks like footing is not a problem for him based on the couple of cuts he just made. It's like he has picked the right footwear. Now he does have that low center of gravity, Ron McClendon at 5'8".
Holding, Edmonton, number 87, 10-yard penalty. First down had been gained. First down.
Daryl Mitchell, and the holding call comes after the initial first down yardage was attained. So they mark it back at the 20.
Yeah, and down the field, so it's not from the line of scrimmage and back. Not too costly of a penalty for Daryl Mitchell.
Net of 12 yards for McClendon on the carry. And a first down. Here comes the blitz, and Ray stands in and has a completion. Kwame Cavill with the catch. And up at the 35-yard line, a first down.
Kwame Cavill, again, the last resort. He's the wide receiver out at the top of your screen here. And Kwame Cavill is just one of those guys that he sees the zone defense. You can see how Calgary's dropping to spots on the field rather than taking men and running with them. And Kwame Cavill is the under guy, the last ditch effort for Ricky Ray on the play. But he had the time to get there.
A couple of setbacks to Book out of the backfield and to McClendon, and that time he did have problems with the footing. And down immediately after about 3.
There's always something that when you come and play at Commonwealth in the second half of the season, and it really becomes prominent in playoff time, but especially if it's rainy, the visiting team will be changing shoes throughout the game, trying to find the answer to Commonwealth, and often you don't, you just live with it. But both teams slip. Sometimes it felt like playing against Edmonton, the visiting team was the only team that slipped.
2nd and 8, flag down. McClendon out of the backfield again. Trying to get to that first down stick, and 3 Stampeders, led by Kobe Reinhardt, denied it. But again, a flag down. And the Stamps all signaling that penalty's against Edmonton, but Ricky Ray's getting the options listed to him.
And if that's happening, then the penalty's against the Calgary Stampeders. And
offside, Calgary, number 53, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down repeated.
Former Eskimo Raheem Abdullah jumped too quickly. So 2nd and 3. And Abdullah to the sidelines. Jeremy Southern checks in. Ray flush, dumps it off. McClendon has been the busiest man on the Eskimos offense. And he has a first down at the 49.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders are doing what they did on Labor Day in the defensive backfield. They're dropping off, putting lots of coverage, and eliminating the deep ball for Ricky Ray and trying to make Ricky Ray be patient and throw the ball underneath. That's why Ron McClendon has been so busy. That's one thing that Calgary wanted to do last week and want to repeat this week. With that young secondary, give the receivers a little more room, back off, and make them throw the ball underneath.
Eskimo first down at the 49. Quick hitter out of the backfield, Mike Maurer. Cut down on the play. Kobe Reinhardt, the tackle.
But the Edmonton Eskimos at this point, while they get this drive going, are in a bit of unfamiliar territory when you look at what they've done in the first half this year compared to the second half this year. They've outscored opponents in the first half this year in a big way by 58 points. In the second half, it's by 1 point. And they're behind in this first half. That's why Ricky Ray wants to get this drive and finish it off.
8 minutes left, first half, 2nd and 3. Poe on the blitz, and that ball is picked off. Picked off by Randy Chevrier, the former Eskimo, with a terrific play. And a flag after the interception. When we come back, Stampeder football. First career interception. We'll take another look at it. It was an athletic play by the big nose tackle. Burris with a pump. And now looking deep. Looking for Copeland. Incomplete.
Donnie Brady in perfect coverage and doesn't have the one-hand catch ability of maybe Randy Chevrier. He'll show you his interception, an athletic play, but it all starts with recognition. He is the nose tackle right here. Now watch the push. Right there, he recognizes and sees that Ricky Ray is looking this direction, so that's where he's going to slide after working on the double team and ends up right in the throwing lane, then puts it off with one hand.
You know, his nose tackle partner, Sheldon Napastuk's been lobbying to carry the football, make a play on offense, but Chevrier's just gone ahead of him on the depth chart. 2nd and 10. Joe Mumford jumped away, and now there is a flag. Burris hammered, ball came loose, and they're ruling the play dead, but Joe was out of the gate too quickly.
Chris, that flag came out a little bit after the fact, and I'm wondering if the official over there didn't get talked into this one, because he was standing right in front of the Calgary bench. Sometimes Joe Mumford gets off that ball so quickly that it appears to be offside.
Offside, Edmonton, number 53, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down, repeat it.
Now let's take a look. I'm not sure if it was just slow on the flag or that they were talked into it. Here he is. You see him at the top of the screen.
You're right, it took a long time for that flag to come out. Clearly Montfort, it jumped ahead of the play. So it's 2nd and 5 now. Burris back in after missing a series. Another flag down. Copeland in the flat, incomplete. And a penalty marker down. So a touchdown drive by Gesser in relief of Burris. And Henry back in with the left thumb taped up.
Well, with the reaction from Singor Mobley, very upset with this flag.
Offside, Edmonton, number 97, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
The other bookend, Rashad Genty. First Montfort, then Genty. And now it's a 1st down.
Well, it's a heated rivalry, no question. And then these two teams, sometimes when it's offside, it's about adrenaline and wanting a little bit too badly to make the play. But composure is important for both these teams. Close game.
Stamps deploy 5 receivers, but Reynolds carries the football. And down to the 33-yard line. 5 for Joffrey Reynolds. As the Stampeders moving into scoring range, trying to add to a 7-point lead.
Well, we'll see if Henry Burris can grab that momentum back, because after the Randy Chevrier interception, that sudden change and advantage Calgary. They have field position. They want to strike early, but because of these 3 penalties in a row going back and forth, sort of taking some of that momentum away. This is an important down to see if he can grab it back.
Line up in a double tight end. 3 receivers wide side. Underneath Rambo, and immediately Sanchez breaks it up.
You know, that's tremendous coverage, because that's one of the toughest plays to cover is the crossing route, because you're, as a defensive back, are in a chase position. You have to wait till the receiver makes his break, and it's going to be to this side and come across, and then you have to just use your speed to catch up. Now, Sanchez also had to fight through the traffic to get over there, and breaks hard downhill. That's tough coverage, and he did a nice job at it.
DeAngelis has made one, but he has missed 3 from over 40 this year, and this will be from 41. And again, footing appears to be an issue for the Kickers. And DeAngelis misses to the left. See what Tompkins does with it. Out across the 10, but contained. And it remains a 7-point Calgary lead. Trailing 10-3, this Stampeder defense has been stubborn since halftime Monday. McClendon up the middle, and the parade of penalties continues.
That's a good point you make, Chris. Since halftime on Monday, this Calgary defense stepped it up there. Ricky Ray, I believe, had just over 50 yards passing in the entire second half of that game. You know, statistically, easy for me to say, the Calgary Stampeders, it's not real impressive.
After this is the goal line. First down, repeat it.
When you look at this defense, ranked 4th against the run coming into this game, ranked 8th against the pass at 313 yards per game. They're 8th in interceptions, but they do get after the quarterback. Tied for the league lead with 31 sacks.
Joe McGrath, Calgary draft choice now in Edmonton, caught on the hold. McClendon on first down and 16 with the carry back across the 11-yard line. This defense has allowed just 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, but both losses.
Well, and that's the bottom line, and the only stat that matters at the end of the day is the W's or the L's, and it was up to John Grace. Be more W's. He leads by example. He can sign his painting at the end of the game.
But in the last 2 games, they've only given up an average of 40.5 yards rushing, 272 yards passing. Second and long, and Ray finds Mitchell, who gets tattooed, but hangs on and should be close to a first down.
Yeah, Nate Terry, who was playing corner and playing the zone, and he just tried to reduce the field, basically realized he didn't have a threat to the outside, so he kept coming down, getting closer and closer to the hash mark. And because this play is extended time-wise, Daryl Mitchell finds Nate Terry as soon as he finds the football, and it's catch and hit almost simultaneously right under the chin.
Mookie, playing in his 150th game, gets the first down before rudely welcomed by Nate Terry. And now Mitchell out of the backfield. Another catch close to a first down. He came into this game 3rd in receiving. In fact, we have 4 of the top 5 receivers coming into the week in this game. Tucker, Mitchell, Copeland, and Lewis.
Daryl Mitchell is the crossing guy. Daryl Mitchell's part of the field for the Edmonton Eskimos is basically hash mark to hash mark, right across the middle, intermediate area between 10 and 15 yards, sometimes even to the 7-8 yards. Jason Tucker, on the other hand, he's the deep threat.
First down, another crossing pattern. Underneath, Mitchell with the catch. He's already more catches, more yards receiving than all of last season in Edmonton, as his workload upgraded with the departure of Terry Vaughn. And the officials giving the 3-minute warning to the benches here at Commonwealth. Well, it's been a defensive battle so far. I was going to ask you, does the wet turf slow down an offense or make it uncomfortable for a defense?
Well, as being a former defensive player, I think it's always advantage offense when the conditions get a little damp and the field gets wet, because they know where they're going and you have to wait and then react to where they're going. Now, having said that, we haven't seen the offensive outburst just yet.
Ray had a little trouble with that shotgun snap, but Trevor Gaylor's got the catch. And another first down up at the 49. Eskimos trying to mount a scoring drive to tie this before the halftime intermission.
Again, this is the Calgary game plan to force Ricky Ray to be patient, and so far so good. If you're the Calgary Stampeders, you're on the road 96 hours after playing this team on Labor Day, and you're in Commonwealth Stadium, a place that you haven't won very often. Got to be happy with the results so far.
Ray has completed 4 passes consecutively on this drive. This one is picked off. Up for grabs, and Nate Terry pulls it down. Ricky Ray struggling, and Nate Terry still going. And caught from behind by McClendon. But the Stampeders get another interception. And they're set up to increase their lead.
Well, works together, defensive line and pressure on the quarterback and the secondary and coverage on the receivers. And this time Ricky Ray is harassed just enough. And I believe even hit as he's throwing the football. Randy Chevrier again up the middle with a nice push on the outside. It's Brian Clark. And just as he's throwing this football, Ricky Ray feels Brian Clark can't step into the throw, and that's why Nate Terry at the other end basically caught this like he was a punt returner.
15th interception tossed by Ricky Ray this year. The Stampeders had the wrong complement of players on the field. And a flag is thrown. Time counter, illegal substitution, Ken Lazarus.
Legal substitution, 13 man in the huddle, 10-yard penalty, first down.
So some confusion on that Calgary sideline after the change of possession.
Well, this has been a bit of an issue for Tom Higgins over the last couple of games to be organized on that sideline. And a concern for the Calgary Stampeders that some indecision from the coaching staff over the last couple of games have cost them opportunities.
Now shades of Monday when they had 13 in the huddle for the 2-point convert attempt to tie the game. 1st and 20. Here comes Gas on the blitz, but it's complete over the middle. And Nick Lewis has his first catch of the night, and it's a first down at the 13.
Nick Lewis is key to this Calgary offense. If Nick Lewis can get going, it's a great sign for the Calgary Stampeders, because when you look at this season, Nick Lewis, who's going to catch this hot pattern right over the middle from the right of your screen, has been an important target and a big reason when the Calgary Stampeders win football games. A.J. Gas coming on the blitz, but doesn't get there in time.
Calgary scored a major after the Chevrier interception, and they duplicate it after Terry's. Here's the blitz, and Burris throws it away and didn't get to the line of scrimmage.
Now, a flag was thrown with Kelly Wilshire threw Burris to the ground. Burris thought the penalty was on his receiver down the field.
I think it's a grounding call.
There's no infraction on the play. There was a receiver in the vicinity of number 88. Incomplete pass, second down.
Now that's how the officials will call that. If the ball doesn't cross the line of scrimmage, they will throw the flag anyway and then wait, regroup, and make sure they know if there was a receiver around, and they're saying there was, so no flag.
Dickerson was the intended receiver. Ball fell short. Burris did well to avoid the sack. 2nd and 10. Another blitz in the end zone for Lewis. Incomplete. As he tried to adjust to the ball, and another flag.
Not surprising that now Henry Burris is at the end of this half is now looking to get the football to Nick Lewis. He's going to run the corner, and it's all about timing. Singor Mobley coming off the edge. Henry Burris just floating away from that pressure. Lewis was open, but the ball was a little bit behind. But Nick Lewis, in the 6th loss for this team, look at those numbers. Around 3 catches, 60 yards. In the 4 wins, close to 6 catches in almost 100 yards. Difference between winning and losing has often been Nick Lewis.
Another Eskimo penalty helps the drive stay alive. 2nd and 5. Offside Edmonton. Burris trying to make them pay. Pressure into the end zone. And Donnie Brady drops the ball. A sure interception.
Coverage unbelievable. Henry Burris going to try and roll out in this veteran secondary. Basically shuts the door. You show me an open receiver. 3 receivers to the wide side. That's where Henry Burris wants to go. And everybody is covered. Malcolm Frank sitting on the outside. And Donnie Brady Has a chance, both hands on the football, juggles it, can't catch it the third time, and could have taken away possible 3 points here.
Instead, DeAngelis gets a chance from the 16. And it is 3 more. So 10 points, the lead, all coming off intercept first half here at Commonwealth. Coming up, minute 35 to go.
Interesting for the Edmonton Eskimos here in this situation. The Edmonton Eskimos since 2000 have been front runners. I mean, they leading at half, they're 42-8. They go in and this score doesn't change and they're behind at half. They are 12-29 since 2000 when trailing at halftime. Very different.
Lazarick stopping play as DeAngelis squipped the kick. And they will do it again.
Danny Machocha talked about his football team not closing teams out. Now he's going to have to see, depending on what happens in the minute 35, if his team can come back.
The way things have gone, they may come out in the green jerseys for the second half. Squib kick again. And that's a hot potato. And the Eskimos do cover it at the 40. Tim Fleiser had the big punt block a week ago.
Yeah. Well, you got Tim Fleiser and Rashad Genty in that second row on the kickoff return. Neither very familiar with the football. I mean, that was basically an introduction. Football, Tim, football, though he did block that one. These guys don't touch the ball a whole bunch.
Now Ricky Ray has got to get things untracked. This offense shut down in the second half at McMahon. And although he's 15 for 20, hasn't had much to show for it. And you're right, all those squandered early opportunities haunting them. London, the last option, and not much there.
You know, you got to give a little credit to the Edmonton offensive line. For Ricky Ray to get to his last option, he's got to have enough time to do that. However, this is total advantage Calgary defense. Their game plan to take away Jason Tucker. Haven't mentioned him yet tonight in the first half. Take away the deep ball. We haven't really talked about Kwame Cavill. It's been Ron McClendon underneath. It's been Daryl Mitchell underneath, dumping the football off. That's because that's what Calgary wants them to do.
And it's a secondary for Calgary without 3 starters who are on their way back in the next couple of weeks. Ray throwing deep, and this one's picked off. Nate Terry has another on the pass intended for Brett Ralph. And Terry cruising inside the 40. He'll step out at the 35. And the fans are on Ricky Ray. And another flag comes down well after this play ended.
Well, you start to wonder, watching Ricky Ray deliver the deep ball, that maybe he isn't a little banged up from that Labor Day game. Now, there was some question during the week how banged up he was. He took a bunch of hits, but that's just not typical Ricky Ray when you talk about accuracy throwing the deep ball.
Conduct, Calgary, number 38, after the interception, 10-yard penalty, first down.
And at the other end, Nate Terry, there's lots of time left there. He can get up and go. I mean, you're talking about a guy, he was cruising a little bit. They have some chance for some more points here.
George White called for taunting, so the ball moved back to the 45, but Stampeders in Eskimo territory with 56 seconds to work with. Ray, interceptions on the last 3 Eskimo possessions. Mobley on the blitz. Mobley can't get his hands on Burris. And Henry Burris is down to the 31. Actually sliding to the 31. They'll mark him at the 33, but it is a Calgary first down.
It's an interesting series for Singor Mobley, who came on the blitz, was cut by Craig Carr, got up and then had to chase around the horn to try and get to Henry Burris. Never got there in time. Burris gets the first down.
Danny Machocha has been steadfast in saying we have one number 1 guy and we don't want to replace him, but you wonder about Jason Moss as a second-half option. Burris, complete. There's Carr to the backfield. Cut down. Craig Carr out of Manitoba, a second-round Eskimo draft pick back in 2000. And I know you like him because he comes from the Rome Gladiatori.
Wow.
So he was a gladiator.
Like an official gladiator.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they played at the Coliseum in Rome. They used to back in the days of Dan Kepley and those old guys, but, but he is a member of the Gladiatori.
I like him already.
Got a yard, 2nd and 9. Clock's been running, and poor clock management here. They do get it out of bounds with 3 seconds to go.
Well, that was close. Henry Burris had to hustle that throw out of there. He realized late that he was losing this battle. If Nick Lewis takes another 3 seconds there, or Burris does throwing it to him, come away with no points. Because they're already in field goal range, albeit a long one. But you could see Burris hustle the throw. He steps up. I think he peeked at the clock in the middle of that play.
And all of a sudden you realize there's no time to take a shot. So they just move it closer for DeAngelis. 3 Eskimo interceptions could add up, if DeAngelis is successful, to 13 points off turnovers for the Stampeders. And DeAngelis misses this to the right. So the rookie struggling tonight, and Tompkins will bring it out. How far will he go? With a stutter step and then pushed out. But the last Ray interception ends up not hurting them. But a first half dominated by the Stamps. They lead. Stampeders by 10 as we get set for the second half. First, Ryan Bershog with Eskimo head coach Danny Machocha.
Danny, I know the mental mistakes were something you wanted to work on with this football team, but considering that, how frustrating was that first half for you?
Extremely frustrating. Too many dumb mistakes, and hopefully we'll correct them here in the second half.
You say to guys in between the halves, sir?
Just wake up and start playing.
All right, Danny, thank you.
Thank you.
Stampeders missed an opportunity to add to their lead on the final play of the first half. They'll get their hands on the football first to start the second.
Yeah, John Klein, we talked about it at halftime, that 3 points off the turnovers for the Calgary Stampeders are a bunch of missed opportunities.
Disagreement on who should take the ball. Wilkins had it taken out of his hands.
Yeah, you never back up on the kick return team. You leave it for the guys behind you. There's the quarterbacks and how they matched up, and started to wonder the way Ricky Ray and Jason Moss were on the sideline just out of half. Now Henry Burris gets his shot at this first half. He's on the field first, obviously, but not sure if maybe Edmonton's contemplating a quarterback change.
So the high-priced guys haven't thrown a touchdown pass tonight. Jason Gesser has.
Yeah.
The backup in for one series when Burris had to tape up the thumb. Here's Jermaine Copeland, who's been quiet so far tonight. Stretching out, first catch to the 37-yard line. And just a couple for Copeland. Second in the CFL in receiving.
Steve Barato, offensive coordinator in that first half, had some early poor field position. First 2 series started inside his own 5-yard line. They crawled out of that. Did have the touchdown from Jason Gesser. Kenyon Rambo.
Second and 8 for the Stampeders. 6-receiver package. And Burris looking deep, and no one home. Great coverage, blanketed both Jermaine Copeland and Brent Ralph on the far side.
Well, Donnie Brady and Jermaine Copeland were in a bit of a battle, and Donnie Brady does the right thing. As Brady is going to go down the field here, and he's going to be patient. See, he turns right now. He knows the ball's in the air because he's reading Copeland's eyes, and then he's just patient and puts the brakes on. Those two were talking a little bit in the newspaper this week leading into this football game. Copeland saying that Donnie Brady does a lot of holding and can't really cover. And Brady saying, well, all you have to do is look at the score on Labor Day. The score very good for him in this one so far.
Burke Dales fighting it away. Tompkins fielding it at the 36. And running the wrong way to try and turn the corner and ran out of room. Forced out at the 38-yard line. Just one for Tony Tompkins on the return, and he was contained on Monday at McMahon.
Danny Machocha is also the offensive coordinator as well as the head coach, and his offense off to a slow start. They had great field position in the first quarter and didn't capitalize on it. Then the 3 turnovers. Now it's only cost them 3 points. It's the good news if you're an Edmonton Eskimo fan. Bad news is got to eliminate those turnovers. Now Ricky Ray has come back into the game to start this second half.
Stampeder defense last in the takeaway department coming into the night, but 3 in that first half. McClendon, not much. Well, it was an uncharacteristic first half for Ricky Ray.
Interception number 1 to Randy Chevrier, who did a nice job of fighting off a double team. You can see now a trend forming when you see the Ricky Ray interceptions. Both of those he was hit, and you might as well make it the hat trick. Hit as he's thrown. Hit as he was throwing the football on all 3 interceptions.
He has been spotted near an ice bag all week long after Labor Day. 2nd and 8, flagged down. And a pass falling short of the intended target, Jason Tucker.
Which is probably one of the reasons that Danny Machocha didn't make the change and gave Ricky Ray a chance to come back out and start. That if he's being hit in that pocket as he's throwing, and that's caused
62, decline. 3rd down.
And that has caused the problems, then we don't have to make a change and go with Jason Moss. Sometimes 3 interceptions will always go to the quarterback, but sometimes it's not the quarterback's fault. Needs better protection.
Calgary scored the last 22 points on Monday, and with the score 13-3 tonight, that's 35-3. The Stampeders, as this series momentum has shifted, and there is a good play by Wilkins, charging the ball and drawing a no yards, and the Eskimos don't like it. At their 52-yard line. Joffrey Reynolds will try the left side. And Reynolds finds running room across midfield to the Edmonton 53-yard line.
Now Henry Burris has been criticized a little bit along with the head coach, which is often the case when the team is struggling. But Henry Burris is improving, and he's improving in the one category that he has to improve in, and that's protecting the football and making good decisions. First 6 games, his interception touchdown ratio, wrong direction. Last 4, he's been pretty good.
Beat the Eskimos twice last year as a member of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he drew parallels yesterday between their midpoint record and that of the Stampeders this year. Completion to Nick Lewis, who holds onto the ball, lost his helmet, and A.J. Gass still working him over.
Yeah, and Nick Lewis got some help. Nick Lewis had lost his helmet, and then he gets kicked. I believe it was from his own guy.
And A.J. in a nasty mood after a first half that didn't sit well with anybody at Golden Green.
Yeah, and he's trying to stir things up a little bit. He's trying to fire the troops. He's going to corral and basically hog tie and pull Nick Lewis to the ground, but then he keeps going. Now he rips the helmet off. Now he gives him a couple more to the chin. That's when his offensive line, Lewis's offensive line, comes in to help him out. That was Jeff Pilon.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the Dan Kepley influence that has been much talked about in recent weeks. As you mentioned earlier, Danny Machocha declaring that A.J. Gass has been his MVP on defense, his best player.
Yeah, you know what I love about A.J. Gass? He's right up there in tackles. He has a sack, he has 2 interceptions. A lot of people comparing him to Dan Kepley. And Gass says right out of the gate, he says, listen, I'm nowhere near Dan Kepley. And if you want to just compare attitudes, okay, yeah, we both play with the same, Dan played with the same attitude. And that was just reckless abandon when you're on the field.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary, number 64, dead ball foul. First down was gained, 15 yards back. First down.
Well, Jeff Pilon was the offensive lineman that went in there to help out Nick Lewis, and he gets tagged with a 15-yard penalty.
But you know, that's not a bad penalty in my mind for Jeff Pilon. That's a teammate seeing what was going on the field that the officials weren't seeing, and that was A.J. Gaskell trying to rally his team, and that's just going to the defense of a teammate for Jeff Pilon. I don't think anyone on that team, the Calgary Stampeders, will be unhappy with that call.
Pilon enjoying his best year at right tackle. One of the captains of the Stampeders. First and 10, Burris rolling. Burris throwing and has a completion. Nick Lewis broke the initial tackle all the way down to the 30-yard line.
Well, moves like Jeff Pilon's move to protect Nick Lewis can sometimes galvanize your team and bring them together. And there's Nick Lewis saying, all right, you guys protected me when I was down on the ground. Let me make a play for you. And what a throw, first off, from Henry Burris. Watch his broken tackle. That's Stephen Marsh. He doesn't miss many.
And Lewis turns up 30 yards down to the Edmonton 32. Reynolds kicks it outside. Mobley brings him down at the 30.
This is the area, just to go back to Henry Burris, and now you can see the temper starting to flare a little bit between these two rivals, but this is the area where Henry Burris has had his interception problem. And that goes back to his days in Saskatchewan. When he's got down into the scoring zone, he's made, at times, poor decisions. Now, I showed you that graphic a moment ago showing he's improved that. Last 4 games, just 1 interception, last 3, 0.
Second and 7. Steps up and guns that incomplete, short of the receiver Copeland, and that will cue Sandro DeAngelis.
Well, even though that pass was rushed a little bit, and the reason for that is Joe Momford came off the edge so quickly. First of all, he was basically held and tackled by Jeff Pilon, who just lets go in time to avoid the penalty call. But because Momford was up the field so quickly, Henry Burris just had to throw it away. Sometimes Momford's presence can rattle you.
DeAngelis from 37 yards out has missed twice tonight, but perfect there. And it's now a 13-point Stampeder lead.
Labor Day, that's when John Grace added 3 to the Calgary totals, and I've got good news on that front. Last year at this time, there were 206 total sacks in the CFL. Now 215, so plus 9 in the sack department overall. That's more food for the food banks.
That kick going out at the 1. The Stampeders were offside on the kickoff. And the Eskimos look like they'll be happy to take the ball.
Well, because when you kick it out of bounds, the ball goes to the 45, so that's pretty good field position for the Edmonton Eskimos. Kick it again, you may not, even with the offside penalty, you may not get that kind of field position. That rule change was made.
Calgary, number 12, ball will be taken at the 45-yard line. First down.
That rule change was made a couple of years ago, and I like it. It basically forces kickers to keep it inside the 65 yards the Canadian football field is wide. And if you kick it out of bounds and make that mistake trying to pin teams in the corners, the offense that you're playing against gets great field position at the 45-yard line.
Well, let's see if the Eskimos can respond. Trailing by 13, Ray under pressure and just dumps it off. McClendon up to the 50, and Ron McClendon has 5. Scott Coe in on the tackle.
You see again, Ricky Ray has been seeing this kind of coverage all night long. I'm going to show you an example of it right here. Watch the defensive backs for the Calgary Stampeders. First of all, you see how deep they are, and look at them all just back off, backing off, backing off, and they are not going to give up the deep ball. You can see up high, good 3 yards away, and that's forcing Ricky Ray to now dump it off. They're playing back here, taking those zones away, forcing Ricky Ray to go underneath.
Second and 5, blitz. Ray just gets it away. Jason Tucker up to make the catch. Looks like he's going to come up short of the first down. Shane Walton made sure he didn't get to midfield. the necessary point for the first down.
You know, I got to tell you, kids are going back to school right now, and right now the Calgary Stampeders defense is schooling the Edmonton Eskimo offense. I mean, this thing is Calgary Stampeders are playing the defense they want, and look at this. When you are forcing Jason Tucker to run a quick out and catch it in a hurry, they're playing into the defensive strength of the Stampeders.
3rd and 1, and Ray pushing ahead, and this is not a sure thing. I'm not sure. And Ken Lazaruk's,
wow, I don't know.
Al Bradbury's got his foot on a spot that is short of the 55, and if that's the forward progress, then the Stamps have turned it over on downs.
Now, Chris, you mentioned to me and asked me whether or not it was advantage offense or defense with wet field conditions. I thought it's advantage offense until you get to a play like this. Because a play like this, the offensive line on a short yardage play, 3rd and 1, need to get a good push, get off low, fire off the ball, and the quarterback has to dig and go forward with it right behind that offensive line. If you can't get your footing, it can be an advantage defense on a play like this. We'll see. I thought they had to get to the line.
If the lines are straight here, he's short.
Oh, yeah.
No question. Turnover on downs. The Stampeder defense comes up big again. 4th turnover of the night.
Ricky Ray just can't get his footing, and he can't get enough power to get up and over that offensive line. Ryan Clark doing a nice job of stuffing it in there along with Scott Coe.
They needed a full yard, and they ended up getting just over 2 feet. And again, this team last in takeaways this year, have taken it away 4 times tonight.
Edmonton, number 12, 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
And Jason Moss lost it on the sidelines, and that'll tack on 10 yards and move it down to the 45. And clearly that Eskimo sideline didn't like the spot. Henry Burris and company really tried to take a stranglehold. And the ball knocked away. Genty battling for it. Stamps get back on it.
Oh, baby. I mean, it might have been Jeff Pilon.
Believe it was. Genty had a shot.
You know, Jeff Pilon's having himself a game. How many times, Chris, tonight have we talked to Rashad Genty or Joe Mumford? And Mumford has been very quiet. Jeff Pilon this time now, he gets beat initially there, but watch the hustle to come back. Pilon realizes that his man is the guy who's scrambling for that fumble, and he gets there first. That's good backside hustle.
And Henry Burris's battle helped keep that ball alive just a little longer. It is a loss of 8, 2nd and 18. And Burris pump and go, and this one picked off. Davis Sanchez gets it back, and the Eskimos needed that.
Davis Sanchez gets his first interception of the season, which is uncharacteristic for him playing out on that corner. But that probably means that teams just aren't going after Davis Sanchez. And he just plays patiently, cuts underneath that one, keeps his eyes on the football. He knows he has his receiver under control. And if Henry Burris was going to gamble and just throw it in there, knowing that Davis Sanchez had the great position, he needed to put more air on that football.
Former Stampeder, remember Labor Day a few years back, him and Ed Hervey got into it. Now they're both on the same side. Hervey a week or 2 away. 2nd interception thrown by Burris tonight. Ray, the hit screen. Trevor Gaylord picking his way back into the middle. And then running into Trey Young and company. Close to a 1st down for Gaylord.
You know, and maybe not making it on that third down has fired up this Edmonton offense a little bit. They look like they came out for this series after the interception, which always gets you a little fired up anyway. You get that sudden change in turnover. Ricky Ray looked like he was a little sharper on the throw, and Trevor Gaylor came all the way across the middle. High stepping his way through that traffic area.
Well, they need this game, realistically, I think, to entertain hopes of chasing down the BC Lions. There's Cavill with a flag down. Kwame Cavill lowers the shoulder, but taken down by Terry up the 40-yard line. 7 for Cavill, pending the penalty.
You know, and I just saw something that is an indication that would tell you that the offense is trying to come out and show you a little bit different attitude that they played with all season. One, you saw Trevor Gaylor, but how about this one? You break the huddle. Watch the offensive linemen. Break the huddle. Offensive linemen are hustling to the line of scrimmage. They're out there ready to play football. They didn't do that in the first half.
First down.
Illegal contact penalty against Calgary.
And maybe not getting it on third down the previous series. They went over there and regrouped on the sideline. Now they're hustling again. See, they're not getting up there on the line of scrimmage and getting ready to fire off the ball.
Trying to energize this offense. Nice fake by Ray. He'll pull it down and charge up this offense a little more across midfield. And now they got the crowd behind them because they weren't with them for a while.
No, in fact, there were boos sent in the direction of Ricky Ray, something that he's not used to, especially not in Commonwealth Stadium. But this has been his best series, and I'm just talking about mechanics. I mean, Ricky Ray is doing the little things in this series that he hasn't done in this football game, and that's quickly from center, play action. He's making sure that he's selling the play action, getting outside. He's hustling the team to the line of scrimmage. All those little things add up to successful plays. Maybe a little emotion from that backup Jason Moss over there is helping a little as well.
Looks like one of the officials was shaken up on the play, and it was Ken Lazaruk who has been taken to the Eskimo bench to get some attention. So at the Calgary 53-yard line, Ray better protection, and he looks deep, looks for Tucker, jump ball, picked off. An interception. We do have a flag on the play as Shane Walton, the Notre Dame product, is dropped at the 20-yard line. Well, let's find out what this flag's all about.
Ricky Ray is walking to where the ball ended up landing in the hands of Shane Walton. Kobe Reinhart was also in coverage on Jason Tucker down the sideline. And Shane Walton came out over the top. I told you they're trying to take away the deep pass. Their little stop move. Now there's the hole right there. Kobe Reinhart with the grab on Tucker's jersey. That call was made, and then the interception happened after the fact, and Ricky Ray walked right to where that grab happened. Now, with the pushing and shoving going on, that's a marginal call on Kobe Reinhart. And that was a subtle grab. Jock Climbey, I know, is in the studio going, hey, that's interference. That's a subtle grab. They've been pushing and pulling all game long.
It is a first down at the 42. Ray, a couple of pumps, no one home, and steps out. And while Jock is reacting, you know, the Calgary receivers are all saying, well, what about Donnie Brady? Because that was the discussion all week long. And Brady has not been called tonight, and we're not suggesting he should have been, but that's the kind of call Calgary was looking for all Monday at McMahon.
Well, you know, players, both offensively and defensively, don't mind how you call it. If you're going to call it tight and call that little grab every time, no problem. They just want consistency. If you're going to call it a little grab once, you got to call it both ways.
For all your weekend news, sports, and weather, think global 7 days a week.
Scott Coe shaken up on the play. We'll take a timeout. Well, a reminder, you can vote for the player of the game tonight in the fourth quarter. Text message your vote using your Rogers phone. and send to Go CFL. Nate Terry has a couple of interceptions, but I'd suggest it's wide open tonight.
Yeah, it is, because there's lots of football to be played, but you got to give Nate Terry the early nod. It's always tough. Defensive backs don't get a lot of those player of the game things. I mean, Nate Terry may need 2 more picks before he gets the player of the game.
The violins are starting. You poor overlooked defensive backs.
You know, always last in the food lines, last in all the practice lines, and then you get a lot of credit for what you do back there sometimes. But Nate Terry's got his hands on the football, and now got to talk about him. And he also had the big hit on Daryl Mitchell in the first half coming across the middle. So that, to me, gives him maybe 1 or 2 more votes.
Scott Coe heads off for at least 3 plays. Second and 8. Ray underneath. And Brian Clark there to close quickly and make sure the first down is denied. Tucker stopped at the 35. He's 2 yards short. And they will send on Hayden Epstein.
Again, we talked about the field conditions. Now, the weather hasn't been terrible for the game. We thought it was going to be a torrential downpour throughout the game. That really hasn't happened, but the field is still wet. Longer field goals are tougher on the kickers because of that plant foot. They have to step into it. They have to move quicker towards the football, and they can lose that plant foot. It's tougher on the longer ones.
Epstein from 42 yards. And he will miss, and Wilkins to bring it out. Terrence Wilkins, good burst. And then slowed up across the 30-yard line.
Bold design. Awesome power. This is the Nissan Now You See Them, Now You Don't clearance event. Get our best offers of the year. 0 down, 0 security deposit, and 0.8% lease or purchase financing on the freshest lineup of any manufacturer. Only during the Nissan Now You See Them, Now You Don't clearance event. Hurry before they're all gone.
Hayden Epstein's first miss in the CFL, and a first down for Calgary at the 30-yard line. Joffrey Reynolds ran into a wall at the 33. Let's join Ryan Rashog.
Thank you very much, Chris. The Edmonton Eskimos are doing what they can to help aid in the relief effort for Hurricane Katrina victims. You notice in the stats tonight, they gave out 30,000 thunder sticks to people who gave donations. They will donate all that money to the relief effort. Also, the organization will be kicking in an additional $30,000. So, you know, the effects of that hurricane felt all the way across the CFL. Many players are from and have family in the affected areas. Chris?
Thank you, Ryan. Second down. 7. Burris in trouble. And down he goes. Rashad Jonty, Steve Charbonneau in on the sack.
You know, just to add to that, Edmonton with this big play to force the punt. But just to add to that with Katrina and what's happening in the southern states, the southern United States, I just read, and we always like to say hi to the men and women, the Canadian Armed Forces that are watching, and I just read that over 1,000 of our men and women, the Canadian Armed Forces, are down helping out with the effort. And I just like to make all of the men and women, the Canadian Armed Forces, honorary gladiators for the entire season for the work that they do around the world.
Absolutely going to the aid in the Gulf States. This punt by Dales. Tompkins pushed back inside his 35. And then caught from behind. Terrific downfield coverage. Marte Jenkins with the tackle after a 52-yard punt. I want to add to what Ryan was saying, that it has touched just about every CFL team in a very deep way. And for the Eskimos, Shannon Garrett, Cedric Scott, among the players who have family directly affected by the ravages of Hurricane Katrina. Garrett losing a home, and Cedric Scott's home losing its roof, and fortunately the families are all right. Ray, draw play, McClendon also from that area, and he is helicoptered down at the 49, close to a first down.
You know, and this is maybe the answer for the Edmonton offense, Chris, and that's to send Ron McClendon on a few more draw screen type plays, because if you're going to be patient, you might as well go to your running back and give it to him underneath, see if he can't catch the Calgary Stampeders in one of those stunts, and you saw that helicopter hit right at the end of the play.
Now he's playing for next week. Will he stay in the lineup? Will it be Michael Jenkins? Will it be Darren Diedrich? 15 seconds left, third quarter, and McClendon that close to a first down. But McClendon showed a lot against the Alouettes, and tonight he has been as dangerous a weapon as the Eskimo offense has had.
Well, he has, and you know, I still think that his problem and his challenge is to continue to try and run north-south and not to try and always bounce around. His strength is his quickness.
This time the surge a lot more dramatic than the one in which they were stopped. And Ricky Ray easily has the first down. And we have hit three-quarter time at Commonwealth. Stamps haven't lost when leading after 3. They lead 16-3. Receivers right. Ray had to look left and shovels it ahead. And McClendon is stopped behind the line of scrimmage, and Raheem Abdullah with some great pressure, and that's been one of the big stories in this game. Constant pressure on Ricky Ray.
Yeah, he's been hit on the turnovers. He's been hit on his interceptions. You could see that the defense had that great surge when they turned it over on downs. That's why the game is still in the balance. Which team can capitalize when they get the big turnover in this fourth quarter?
I think you're right. The Eskimos have looked a little more dangerous offensively, strangely enough, since they were stopped on the third down gamble, but now looking at 2nd and 12. Here comes Abdullah again, flushing Ray, who pumps, takes off, and Ray launching close to a first down over Scott Coe as they pay the price here early in the fourth quarter.
Well, if there was any thought at all to bring Ricky Ray out of the game, it probably just disappeared on that play right there, because Ricky Ray, not known for his running, could have easily stepped out of bounds with Scott Coe coming right there, but dove for the first down and paid the price for it. That's the type of play that'll rally a football team in a hurry.
Yes, a little bit of Matt Dunnigan to get things ripped up in the fourth.
You know, and Jason Moss, I'm going to say, has contributed to this effort, because he was in the ear of Ricky Ray on the sideline in between last 2 series, and he was just up and down that sideline rallying the troops, and sometimes that can really stir things up. Ricky Ray takes that emotion out onto the field, a guy that is always very calm and has that even demeanor, whereas Jason Moss exactly the opposite. So maybe Moss is part of the reason that they've stirred things up here.
Looks like Moss is wearing Dunnigan's old ball cap from the Eskimos. That thing's got some miles on it. 3rd and inches, and another third down gamble. And Ray follows the pile, and that will move the chains.
But there hasn't been a lot of sacks tonight, Chris, but there has been a lot of pressures. And the way, if the quarterback for Danny Machocha, offensive coordinators will tell you that, if your quarterback is being pressured and he's being hit on every throw, one of the ways to beat that is screen drop and take advantage of an aggressive defense that is stunting and pressuring you. And when they get caught in that stunt, dump the ball behind them on a screen and see if your back can't pick up big yards.
Take to McClendon, pressure again, thrown away. And a flag down. Is it grounding, or was it the extra treatment on Ricky Ray from Terrence Patrick?
Well, again, they will throw the flag immediately because the ball didn't go past the line of scrimmage. So that's an automatic. Then they discuss and find out, was there a receiver with an eligible number in the vicinity of the football? I don't think there was any extra when Ray went down. I think they're trying to decide whether or not there was a receiver there. That's why Ricky Ray is over there trying to argue his point. He's trying to tell him which receiver was close to it.
Banny won his case.
There's no infraction on the play. Ball didn't cross the line of scrimmage, but number 3, the yellow blue receiver, was in the vicinity. Incomplete pass, second down.
Terrence Patrick, who put the heat on, replacing Demetrius Maxey, who is expected to be back for the first game in October.
Well, it's been this kind of night for Ray and this offense, because every single time he turns around and play action, he's had a red helmet that he's had to look around.
2nd and 10. Rush on. Ray looking deep, looking for Jason Tucker. Incomplete. As Tucker drew a crowd, Ben Kelly, Nate Terry in coverage.
You know, and a good drive for Ricky Ray that he all of a sudden became a little impatient. Tucker is the inside receiver. He's going to go to the outside and then down the field. But look at the attention, as you mentioned, Chris, that he draws. Nate Terry, who has a couple of picks tonight, just doesn't time his jump very well. You know, Tucker had a chance.
Yeah, you know, as good as the coverage was, Jason Tucker makes that play more than 50-50.
Well, he's made a career out of that play.
Epstein trying to pin them. Wilkins lets it go over his head, and it will bounce into the end zone. Single point. See the no yards. We'll see if they do take the single point.
For that Fritos. Now, I was wondering if it was seedless, but I think it was just brainless.
I think we used the term winner in more ways than one. Rashad Genty with the tackle on Joffrey Reynolds. Behind the line of scrimmage, a loss of 1.
We haven't heard a lot from Rashad Genty or Joe Mumford tonight, and you got to give some credit to those tackles of the Calgary Stampeders. They've been able to push Genty and Mumford wide and upfield for the most part. Now there's still a quarter to go.
2 weeks in a row, they have shut down Reynolds, though. 9 carries, 21 yards for the number 2 rusher in the league. 2nd down and long, and a late flag as the pass falls incomplete, intended for Brett Ralph.
You know, and I'm going to show you a little example of what I'm talking about with the play of these tackles for the Calgary Stampeders. They've not been able to run the ball again real successfully against the best run defense, but they do have a lead in Commonwealth Stadium.
Decline. Third down.
We haven't talked a lot about Joe Mumford. Watch this for Pilon. Slides back now. He gets his hands out. He's getting aggressive. He's got his hands up under the chin. Little push and push him wide.
Drysdale got called for holding, but declined on the incompletion. Calgary has to kick it away. Under 11.5 minutes to go. 12-point game. Bales punt. Tompkins at the 34. Shane Walton came up empty, but now brought down. Brian Clark, the tackle after the 41-yard punt. Tonight's game story brought to you by Sport Check, the power of sport.
Ricky Ray has found Nate Terry for 2, and Nate Terry plays on the other team. That's not a good stat for Ricky Ray. Stampeders, though, haven't been able to turn those turnovers into a lot of points, and that's why the game is still in the balance.
At the 35, the Eskimos start offensively. Jason Tucker with a catch. Brought down at the 43. 8 yards for Tucker on a quiet night for him. Well, the NFL returns to TSN this Sunday. Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts taking on Baltimore. Coverage begins with NFL primetime, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. TSN with 27 games this season, all available TSN HD. Calgary cheerleaders have made the trip. They're enjoying proceedings so far. 2nd and 2. And the Eskimos pound it for what should be the first down.
I mean, Chris, these two teams battle in all areas. And cheerleaders are one of them. You know, and Edmonton cheerleaders make the trip on Labor Day, and the Calgary cheerleaders are back. And now the Calgary cheerleaders are back in Commonwealth Stadium with the lead. So, yeah, you think they're pumped up. Now the Edmonton cheerleaders have to go a little harder. You need to dig down. But see, the Calgary cheerleaders, now they're dancing, they're happy, and they're going 16-4 for them. Yeah, they're having a great Commonwealth Stadium, and now Edmonton's got to try and get something going. So they're going to try this pyramid thing or whatever they're doing over there.
Get the rally going.
Yeah.
Matthew Bertrand was the ball carrier. He's going to be a chain link or two short. And so it will be another third down play. The last few have been decisive, and this one, barring a missed snap, should be automatic. And Ray will have it as he crosses the 45.
You know, we saw a couple of attempts to Jason Tucker, Chris, offensively. The one that he almost had, he had to out-jump a couple of guys. Right now, the Edmonton Eskimos can't get Jason Tucker deep. You talked about the fact that he always makes those deep plays. When you look at his career average, and this is up to date coming into this game, he would rank 5th. And those other players, Simpson, Patterson, Grant, they played back in the 50s and 60s. In the new era, Jason Tucker is blowing everyone out of the water, but the Edmonton Eskimos can't get him deep tonight.
3 catches, only 18 yards. And there's a drop from Tucker, and that's uncharacteristic.
Well, this is not a route that Tucker runs. I mean, the quick hitch is not a Tucker route. That's an Ed Hervey route, who's not in the lineup, but maybe in a couple of weeks. Tucker loves the corners. He's a corner seam post guy. See, he took his eyes off the football. That's football 101 for Jason Tucker.
Leading receiver in the league at 978 yards. So you thought it'd be automatic that he'd be the first 1,000-yard guy of the season tonight, but maybe not. Flag down. Underneath. Catch is made by Daryl Mitchell, but negligible yardage. Let's see what the flag's all about.
Kwame Cavill was offside for the Edmonton Eskimos, and the Calgary Stampeders will decline that penalty, force Edmonton to kick the football. So even if Mitchell breaks a tackle there, Kwame Cavill was about a yard and a half offside.
Edmonton, number 82, decline. Third down.
And the locals get restless. Just over 9 minutes to go. 9-12 and a 12-point disadvantage for the home side.
Sorry, Chris. Danny Machocha is getting restless because the longer this game goes on, the more he needs a big play, which is what Calgary has taken away in this game.
Low snap fielded by Epstein. Got a good bounce, and Terrence Wilkins had a little trouble coming up with the football, but hangs on at the 17. Guess what? Another penalty on the play. We'll sort it out when we come back. A.J. Gass was called for holding on the last Epstein punt, so the Eskimos have to do it again. 10 yards further back. Wilkins awaits now at his 25. Wilkins charged the ball and has to drop on it. Genty looks like he was encroaching on that 5-yard restraining area. That'll be a 15-yard penalty and put the ball up near midfield. A family fights to rebuild their lives, and what they're about to face next will make them question everything they know. The invasion begins Wednesday, September 21st on CTV.
No yards. Edmonton, number 97, 5-yard penalty. First down.
Dayton DeBook shaken up on the play. Genty, no yards, so they'll march at 15. We've talked about the significance of an Edmonton loss. Calgary would move ahead of Saskatchewan into 3rd place in the West. And then, as they talked about yesterday, maintain their hopes of challenging the Eskimos down the stretch for 2nd place and home field for a playoff game. DeBook still gets attention, and so we'll take another timeout.
Look out!
Top players in each position.
they tend to book, who was a college teammate of Hayden Epstein's in Michigan. Up and off under his own steam, 8:40 to go.
Well, you start to get the feeling in this game, Chris, that if the Edmonton Eskimos are going to come back and win it, they're going to have to come up with a play where they almost score on defense.
It's been the D's night on both sides. Reynolds. And nothing doing tonight in that department again. Mobley came up with the football. The play whistled down, and little battle in the pits continues. This is Edmonton Calgary stuff, and guess who's in the middle of it?
Oh, yeah. He's getting the crowd fired up. He's getting his team fired up. Jeff Pilon was right over there as well. He's been in a battle tonight. And Jeff Pilon said in the newspaper a couple of days ago, he said, you know, I hear this word around Calgary's practice all the time, potential, potential, potential. We got to stop talking about potential and start winning football games.
There was a sense of urgency, no more moral victories, and there's nothing better in the Calgary win column than a game over. There are rivals from Edmonton. Second down, Burris looks for Nick Lewis, incomplete at the 40. Great coverage on the play by Donnie Brady.
You know, and Jeff Pilon in this game has been doing it with patience on Joe Mumford. Again, Mumford getting pushed wide, and Chris Schultz is going to love this kind of stuff because, see, Jeff Pilon right here, 64, patience. Let him go by, let him go upfield, give him that push to get him 3-4 yards past the quarterback. That allowed Burris to get it out of there. Now, he didn't complete it, but Pilon had his man.
Brookdale's to punt. They let the clock wind down. Tony Tompkins, the returner, on one hop with a flag down and a battle well away from the return. 33-yard punt, no return. Bradley back at the 27-yard line. Ray to start things off. John Grace in pursuit, trying to knock that ball loose with that chop. Ray up close to first down yardage.
Well, I was talking about the impatience of the Edmonton Eskimos and how the longer this game goes on, now just over 6 minutes, the more they're desperate for the big play, the play over the top, the 30, 45, 50-yard throw, and Ricky Ray just has not seen that. He's had to do this all game long, run the football, dump the football. Now they need to take chunks away, 15, 20-yarders. They may have that area of the field, but they certainly haven't had the deep ball.
Eskimos have won 8 of the last 9 against Calgary. The Stampeders' last win was Labor Day 2 years ago. But the Stampeders in charge by 12 tonight. Last time they won the rematch was 4 years ago here at Commonwealth. Second and short, and they get a whole lot more as Gaylor gets the catch and pays a price up at the 50.
Yeah, he just shook off the hit from Brian Clark over the middle. He had to shake that baby off a little bit because Clark wanted to get a piece of this. You see 48 to the left of your screen. He drops out of there, and then he turns around and sees that Gaylor is still on his feet, so he comes over and says, hello.
14 for Trevor Gaylor. No damage done. Quick hitter, Tucker. Trying to make that hitch screen work, but he hasn't popped it yet. And there's the line on Ricky Ray tonight, along with Henry Burris.
Well, Ricky Ray, prior to playing Calgary on Labor Day, had put together 2 games over 400 yards passing and then dropped down to 268 and is below that now.
Would be his lowest output, but he's got time to change it and has Tucker over the middle for a first down at the Calgary 47. Scott Coe and Brian Clark converging.
Well, it looks like the Edmonton Eskimos and Danny Machocha have just decided that they're not going to get the deep ball, so they've now converted Tucker into that curl guy. He's catching a hitch pass to the outside, a curl over the middle. Try and change this on the fly.
Speaking of on the fly and no huddle, play action. There's Gaylor trying that hitch screen. So working underneath now, George White in the vicinity. And that's a 5-yard gain on first down.
You know, and sometimes, even though it's hurry up, you could see Ricky Ray looking to the sideline. Danny Machocha, or whomever is signaling in the plays from the sideline, can still get him a play, even though it's hurry up.
Under 4.5 minutes to go, 2nd and 5. Ray looked right, then left, going home, and he is dropped inside the 40. Looks like he'll be at least a yard short of the first down.
And maybe the only time ever that a good, loud home crowd affected the offense in a detrimental way, because Ron McClendon on the outside was wide open and screaming for Ricky Ray to just dump it off to him. He had probably 30, 40 yards in front of him to run, and Ray never heard him.
3rd and 2. Huge play in the football game. Under 4 minutes to go. And John Grace limping off. So Grace puts a knee down to get attention. And Mark Mitchell, the second-year man, has to come in. And this gives both sides a chance to really get a second look at this 3rd down and 2 play.
Now, you never want to lose John Grace. If you had a designated guy to go down when you're reeling a little bit on defense and tired because of a hurry-up situation and you need a break without using a timeout, there are guys that you will call to go down. Now, John Grace on that play was in on the tackle, and I know the Calgary Stampeders don't want to lose him for 3 straight plays, so I'm not sure that he would be the designated guy to go down.
Looked like perhaps a hamstring.
But for John Grace, he may be just trying to catch his breath. I mean, it didn't look like he took a bad hit or twisted anything when he went down on that tackle. Unless it's a muscle pull.
Eskimos were in hurry up, but now they get a long time to deliberate over the most important offensive play they're going to run tonight.
Yeah, and they get a time to discuss this play, but also time to think about the next play. You've got to think 2 or 3 plays down the line, and right now Danny Machocha's likely got a couple plays in mind. They say, okay, we get the first down. What do we do on first down coming out of that?
Tough spot for Mark Mitchell to come into. 3rd and 2 from the shotgun. Here comes the pressure. Flag down, downfield. Ball knocked down by Kobe Reinhardt, intended for Trevor Gaylor. However, there is a flag. And it looks like it's against Edmonton. And the Calgary defense has turned it over on downs.
Edmonton, number 65, decline.
Well,
first down.
You've got to wonder about the call and about the decision to go deep and to go against what the Calgary Stampeders have taken away all night long on 3rd and 2 to go deep down the field is an interesting decision. And whether that be Ricky Ray's to throw it, Danny Machocha's to call it. Ricky Ray did have a crosser to Daryl Mitchell that looked like it was fairly well covered. They have not given up the deep ball.
Stamps all crossing the plane, coming back. And that ball incomplete. That play wasn't right from the get-go.
You know, Chris, you talk about this defensive backfield, and I talked a little bit about it early on with see Kobe Reinhardt right there along with Trey Young, the safety, Ben Kelly, a rookie. 4 rookies that are not only rookies to the CFL, but have also had to change positions throughout the year due to the injuries to Joey Bose and others in that secondary. The only player with experience back there has been Nate Terry, and they have done a tremendous job against a great receiving corps in Edmonton right here in this game tonight.
Oh, Jim Barker thinks highly of what Reinhardt's done in a short time here. Once again, Calgary receivers offside and a pass out of the reach of Kenyon Rambo.
But I thought when I came into this game and I was just crunching some numbers early that this might be a bad mismatch. Edmonton secondary 6-14 games, Calgary's 42, but Calgary's secondary's done a nice job.
It's like they've come of age tonight. The 3-minute warning being given to the benches.
Didn't see the entire run today, but Mike Weir got off to a tough start.
He doesn't like that front nine.
Yeah.
Tompkins losing yardage, getting a block, but down way back. Mike Juhas, and that kind of sums up the night for the Eskimos. A loss of 16 by Tony Tompkins, and this one's not done yet with 2:18 to go, Glenn, but this is a kind of those turning points of a season for a team like Calgary if they hold on.
Oh, can it ever be, Chris? I mean, coming into Commonwealth Stadium where they haven't won in this game, in the rematch after Labor Day since 2001. I mean, they have had it handed to them in this game. Lopsided scores, you mentioned it early on, how lopsided it's been in this game. And to Calgary to come in here and hang on to this win would be huge for them.
But the decision desk has not declared a victory yet.
No.
2:18 left.
No, this is Canadian football. Canadian football. At 2:18, you can score 3 times.
But Tompkins set them back, losing 16. Ray goes to work. Underneath. And Daryl Mitchell with a catch. Brought down by Brian Clark.
Now, maybe the Calgary Stampeders are onto something with the Edmonton Eskimos. Offensively coming into this game, the Edmonton Eskimos had 11 plays over 40 yards on the season, and they all came in Edmonton's wins. They had 0 in Edmonton's losses. If you take away the big play against the Eskimos, you can have success. And they've had, sorry Chris, and they've had 0 tonight.
Great close there by George White on Daryl Mitchell. But you're right, last week the biggest play was a Trevor Gaylor catch. And it was 35 yards, but it's been a couple of weeks now since they sprung the big play. And usually the guy at the end of the big play is wearing number 83.
That's right. Full credit to an almost entirely rookie secondary of the Calgary Stampeders.
Again, this is a defense that's allowed 2 touchdowns in almost weeks. McClendon stopped short. As, again, they're not able to get anything substantial. And with under 2 minutes to go, Stamps will be happy to let them nickel and dime it.
Yeah, and they've been happy all game to let them do it. And again, it works together. And I've given the credit to the secondary of the Calgary Stampeders. But how many times has Ricky Ray been hit tonight? You know, that's back-to-back games when there's not going to be enough ice in the training room to put on that Ricky Ray's body. You can tell by his jersey that's gone from yellow back to green again with grass stains.
Yeah, Dwayne Mandrusiak's got a tough job tonight.
Yeah.
He's got to get that jersey cleaned up. Well, 4 years ago, the last time the Stampeders won the Labor Day rematch at Commonwealth, and Jason Moss had things rallied near the end. Quincy Jackson with that catch to go up by 1. They went for 2 to have a field goal lead, but that was a bad idea.
When William Fields went, see ya, would want to be ya. And Calgary stole one.
In one of the most dramatic finishes ever between these 2 teams. So, this is one of the reasons the decision desk has not.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've got Kobe Reinhardt down on the play. That's why we have a delay. So the corner who has had an outstanding night getting attention.
And Chris, in 2001, remember what happened with the Calgary Stampeders that year?
Yes, after winning only 8 regular season games. On a roll all the way to the Grey Cup. Tom Higgins was upbeat yesterday. He felt his team could bounce back and use the momentum of the second half Monday when they scored the final 22 points. But it's got to be music to his ears to see the defense popping the leather and making the plays that they have made throughout this game. Ray on second down. There's a catch. Should be a first down. Kwame Cavill. And the forward progress is the 40, which will move the sticks. But again, time a factor, 98 seconds on the clock. And they need 2 touchdowns. Here's Tucker. There's a bigger chunk of real estate into Calgary territory at the 48 as Tucker goes over 1,000. First man in the league to do that this year.
Well, he'll tell you it was a tough game to go over 1,000. He's had to work for every nickel he's got in this one.
Second straight 1,000-yard season for Jason Tucker. Ray belted, but got it away. What a pass to McClendon. Down to the 40. 7 yards, a little sidearm from Ray, who continues to be punished, but is usually unflappable.
Now, do they have a big play to Tucker? They have a big play to the first 1,000-yard receiver in the CFL in 2005 as he sits at 1,013. It's a big average at 16.9. Can they get it to him now? They need it in a hurry.
Ray pump. Looking deep, looking for Gaylor, jump ball, incomplete. Shane Walton got a hand on it. And now 3rd and 2.
You're right, Chris. Ricky Ray has just taken a beating tonight, and how he got that last play to Ron McClendon, how he got that ball out of there. I mean, this has been his night. And that one was under the chin, too. That one's going to hurt. You can't really put ice up there. But that one's going to hurt. That's a headache.
3rd and 2. This time they go short underneath and get the first down. Kwame Cavill. It's the kind of play I think we expected on the last 3rd and 2 gamble that didn't work.
Yeah, to go deep into the strength of the Calgary defensive game plan. Not necessarily their strength on defense all year long, but certainly their strength on defense in the game plan tonight and last week in the Labor Day game.
On a roll, Ray with Chevrier in pursuit. Avoids that and then is tripped up. Great hustle by Raheem Abdullah, the former Eskimo.
He's trying. Ray's outside. He's looking down the field, and what he sees is basically 2-to-1 defenders with white jerseys on the new Edmonton yellow.
Abdullah's been a horse again tonight. Ray fell forward and 3 on the play. 2nd and 7, 38 seconds on the clock. Still down by 12. Ray looks deep. He's got Tucker in the end zone. What a catch! What a catch, Jason Tucker. The leading receiver in the CFL with a highlight reel catch to keep the faint comeback hopes alive.
Well, I asked the question, does Jason Tucker have one more in him? Does he have a big play? What a catch. There's your answer. Yeah, he does. Unbelievable.
9th touchdown catch of the year. Epstein adds the extra point. 30 seconds on the clock and a 5-point lead. And a short kick upcoming.
Wow, that is some kind of catch, and that is worth another look. I mean, Jason Tucker has made this catch throughout his career, Chris. We talked about it all game. But I think this might be his best. I mean, when you rule in degree of difficulty and as many great catches that we have seen from Jason Tucker, this is his best. He slips, regains composure, and with his left hand falling backwards, brings it in. Unreal.
31-yard touchdown pass. Well, he readjusted for the ball in the air. Why, he's an all-Canadian. And now, Hayden Epstein, not Sean Fleming, the guy that's only been here 2 or 3 weeks, will have to execute the short kick.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos need 2 big plays. This is one of them. But with 30 seconds left, it's not over. We've got that balanced formation, could go either side with it.
And now, are they going to overload? No, a lot of movement, and then Epstein really pounded that. No chance. Down to the 40. And Copeland just wisely goes down. Don't want to be jarred and lose the football, but, whoa, that's where the decision to not have Sean Fleming is going to raise some questions here, because that was as deep a short kick as you're going to see.
No, and that's just an error. Well, it's still a desperation play, and you know, full credit to the Calgary Stampeders and the effort tonight. You don't take anything away from that, but that was just poor execution from Hayden Epstein. No chance on the onside for Edmonton, and Copeland wisely just fell down with it.
24 seconds away from snapping a 2-game losing streak for the Calgary Stampeders and ending a 2-game win streak for the Eskimos. First to put a knee down. Time now for Glenn's Gladiator. Brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. Great steaks, good friends. See you tonight.
Well, for the first time this season, we're going to the trenches, but we're going to the offensive side of the trenches. And for the Calgary Stampeders, Jeff Pilon against the premier pass rusher in Canadian football. And this play right here is why it pushed him over the top for Gladiator tonight, when he went to the aid of a teammate in Nick Lewis. Hustled on the backside on fumbles, shut down Joe Mumford and Rashad Genty. Congratulations, Mr. Pilon.
He is the Gladiator, and the Stampeders post their most important win of the year. 5th win of the season. They're 5-6. And the Eskimos now drop to 7-4. 16-11. Stamp prevail.